And welcome into the Slump Monkeys Concrete Podcast on our way to being the world's #1 concrete podcast. I am your host, Paul Finley, and I am proud to say that we are presented by Command Alcon, celebrating 50 years of being flipping awesome, helping the concrete industry do what they need to do. First time I ever saw them, we're just batching concrete. Normal stuff, kicking butt, taking names. Now they got clouds and AI, and they're running around trying to connect the whole world together so you can see your inventory, so you can communicate better with your partners, and at the end of the day, make better concrete with fewer headaches. Proud to have them as a title sponsor for the month of July. Believe this makes the last one, and they're going to continue on with us a little bit more going forward, and we are so thankful to have them. Speaking of being thankful, I'm also thankful that in this episode, we're bringing back the so popular segment, Conspiracy Corner. And in order to do that, we have to bring in the chief conspiracy theorist himself, Josh Hare. Thank you for coming back, Josh.
Pleasure to be here, man. Thanks for having me back. And I've been called a lot of things. That might be the coolest title I've ever earned.
Well, I mean, that's what you are in my life. So I don't know. I don't know if it's official, but in my life, that's what you are. Yes.
It's official now, my boy.
There you go, brother. There you go. Well, I got to tell you, like, so far, first month of the podcast, if you asked me what is the #1 thing people have brought up, like, about the show, was it my eloquent speech on how all the people that hate data centers are wrong, including you and your friends? Was it the interviews that I've had, or anything they said, or anything interesting? No, none of that. It was all, hey, that conspiracy segment was awesome. So here we are. We're doing it again. We got to run it back.
All right. I'm happy to do so. As long as it gets us away from you talking about data centers every single episode, we'll try something else today.
I know well, there's no data centers on the last episode, which as we're recording this hasn't come out yet. It comes out in a couple of days. No data center talk in that one. We're going to avoid it in this one coming up, and then we'll see. No promises after that, though. It's just the world I'm living in. You had an interesting take on a world famous event. Go ahead, launch us into this conspiracy, and let's see how far we can deep dive.
I wish I did an Alex Jones impersonation as well as you do, but in this particular episode, we're doing the Titanic conspiracy. There's a part A, part B that kind of coincide with this conspiracy, but at the end of the day, if you don't like rich bankers from the turn of the Industrial Revolution, you'll love this one, because we're all about anti-JP Morgan and JP Morgan based conspiracies on this episode here. So the Titanic is connected to JP Morgan because he owned the parent company of the White Star Line, the company that made the Titanic, the Olympic, and the Britannic all around the same period there in the early 1900s. So there's two schools of thought here. They kind of work together. JP Morgan, in my conspiracy, JP Morgan orchestrated the sinking of the Titanic to eliminate business rivals that opposed the Federal Reserve.
Oh my gosh. Bro, the Eat the Rich crowd, they could never.
I'm not necessarily in that crowd, but JP Morgan also was huge opposition to my boy Nikola Tesla that we talked about in the last Conspiracy Corner, and I'm a huge Nikola Tesla fan. So you know what? I think JP Morgan did it. I think he did it.
A parody, allegedly. Allegedly.
I think that greedy dude did it, and he collected the insurance money, which is not unlike other conspiracies we might be able to get into later in this series if Paul will let me.
Oh my gosh, that's great. All right, so JP Morgan is connected to the people that built or owned the Titanic.
The White Star Line is the company that built those three aforementioned ships, the parent company owned by JP Morgan.
All right, and they loaded up the Titanic specifically with a bunch of rich people, and JP Morgan made sure it ended up at the bottom of the ocean. All right, so how do we even get to this point that you have developed this conspiracy?
The #1 red flag is that JP Morgan was supposed to be on the Titanic. All right. JP Morgan was supposed to be on the Titanic, and he canceled very last minute. Within 24 hours of the departure of the Titanic, JP Morgan said, "Nah, I'm not feeling it today." This is after he had a private suite made with all of his customizations, had his own promenade deck. He even had like custom cigar holders in the bath, like molded to his specifications. Like the entire suite was like handcrafted by JP Morgan's people. Like, so he either wanted to be on the ship and then backed out last minute, or he knew the whole entire time he was never getting on that boat. I don't know. You can make an argument either way.
To steel man your side of it, did he have his own like life raft, like his own lifeboat? It was a name on one, maybe.
Well, it's been well documented. No one had their own lifeboat.
Women and children first.
The lifeboats were not necessarily a key part of the Titanic's protocol here. But what's more important is that JP Morgan wasn't the only guy that canceled last minute. There were several prominent, wealthy businessmen that ended up not getting on the Titanic. All of them were linked to the Rothschild family. And then obviously JP Morgan being the financier, businessman, banker of the Rothschilds. But there were three prominent businessmen who were on the ship that went down with the ship, and they were all detractors to the Federal Reserve System that JP Morgan was trying to implement in the U.S. at the time. One guy's name, Benjamin Guggenheim. The Guggenheim family were a mining family, and Benjamin ran the family's smelting organization for a long period of time before going off and basically creating his own. He was a huge detractor of the Federal Reserve. Then there was Isidor Straus. He was made famous through the Titanic reenactment movies because his wife actually went down with Isidore and the ship. She refused to leave him. He made sure women and children got on the life rafts, and his body was actually there. I think both of their bodies, certainly Isidore's body, was recovered when they came and rescued the people in the water. He had passed, but he was an American politician, a businessman, and he was also co-owner of the popular Macy's department stores. And then the third gentleman who was also made popular from the movies and everything about Titanic was John Jacob Astor. Astor owned about 40% of every American mortgage. At the time of the sinking of the Titanic, John Jacob Astor was the richest man in America.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. So those three guys primarily, they were all in agreement with one another to keep a central banking system out of the United States. JP Morgan and all his cronies got off the ship. Those three gentlemen stayed on the ship, went down with the ship. The ship sank in 1912, and with all the opposition removed from creating a Federal Reserve, the Federal Reserve was then created in 1913. So JP Morgan did it.
If so facto. Maybe not going to trust these facts and just look at it with clear eyes, fresh hearts.
Yeah, I wish I could do an Alex Jones that well. But furthermore, and if there's one thing that every rich banker loves, it's insurance fraud. The second portion of this conspiracy was that Titanic had a sister ship, the Olympic, and also the Britannic. But the Olympic was heavily damaged a year, maybe almost a year and a half before the maiden voyage of the Titanic. And the theory is that it was repaired to mirror the Titanic, then set sail, and when it sank, the White Star Line, thus JP Morgan, collected a massive insurance payout on the Titanic, whereas if the Olympic sank, there wouldn't have been near the insurance payout there. So the money he had gained from sinking the Olympic, made to be shown as the Titanic, was a huge benefit to him. That is more popularly debunked, or that's where people like to go to say, these conspiracies are nonsense because, how many people are going to keep quiet, and how can you possibly take a ship that large and repaint it to look like the Titanic? Like, there's still going to be some differences, but there are differences. So when the wreckage was found in 1985, it was recorded then at the time that the hull of the ship was bent outwards,
Mm.
where the wreckage had taken place, or where it supposedly hit the iceberg. That portion of the ship was the hull of the ship was bent outwards,
Wow.
signifying an explosion or some issue happening from the inside out rather than the outside in. And then there was also visual differences that were recorded at the time. Windows were slightly different, some measurements slightly different. So there were people even then saying, something doesn't look right. But when you discover the Titanic after, more than 150 years, you're just happy to find the Titanic. And then that's when the movies were made, and this issue gained a cult following.
Oh, they couldn't keep people quiet. Like that's because we're talking about 1912, not 2012. There was no Twitter. Like, what do you mean you can't keep people
Yeah.
quiet? Of course you can. This was back when Upton Sinclair, wrote that all that stuff about Chicago, how the freaking babies are working in the meat factories. You think, and we didn't even know that was happening. You think we can't cover up that they swapped out the ships? Like,
100%.
get out.
I think like, oh, you couldn't have had that many people keep a secret is probably one of the laziest arguments towards
No,
any conspiracy
it's a
theory.
horrible argument from 1912 when you had like I'm pro-capitalist. That's probably one of the few anti-capitalist times where you're like, you got a point. Probably shouldn't have children working in the meat factory. You think these guys didn't have a stranglehold in the shipyard? Are you
Right.
joking me?
And the final piece about the voyage meeting its demise before it ever set sail was there was also reported that there was a coal fire in the boiler room that had erupted and was burning at the time that they set sail. So that whole explosion thing in the hull of the boat, there was already a coal fire burning there in the ship that was reported before they ever set sail. So was the voyage doomed before people ever left the port? Probably, because JP Morgan did it.
Yeah, well, the whole the thing I love about the Titanic story is that it was marketed as the unsinkable ship.
Right. What better way to get all the rich people on there, man?
What better way?
Yeah.
And then to sink it. And so the unsinkable ship, it's a block of ice, and that's the end. There's no way. There's no way. So this like I don't know about JP Morgan doing it, but that's why we're here is to discuss the fun stuff. But like the whole idea that like something else happened, absolutely. And if it was orchestrated by one of the wealthiest guys to ever exist, whose name still carries weight in the banking business even today, whew, this is great. I love it.
But that's what I got, man. And that's also the extent of my conspiracy theories that don't get too politically minded. So
Yep.
with the rule that you implemented that cuts me off at the knees, I'm gonna have to dig a little deeper for our third installment. But I'll find something cool. I can't talk about the Bay of Pigs. I can't talk
No.
about Agent Orange. I can't talk about the World
Oh,
Trade Center.
my favorite conspiracy theories when we have zero evidence and we just get to laugh, have a lot of fun. You brought a little bit more evidence today and what I'm even talking about. So it was a lot of fun. The reason we don't do politics on the show is because politics is freaking everywhere.
Yeah,
Kills me.
that's
Kills
why
me.
it touches every conspiracy theory, unfortunately.
but if we started doing political conspiracy theories, like this is going to turn into the Mike Benn show, and we're going to
Yeah.
be rolling 3 hours into USAID and how that was the most clever name ever created for any organization. Is they really are a color revolution organization, and look, we can't do that on this show. We can't do that to the great people in the concrete industry. Maybe one day we'll have Slump Monkeys After Dark, and we can dive super deep into all that.
No, I
Right.
get it. I get it. I respect it.
So here we've got J.P. Morgan, who was 100% for the Fed, the creation of the Fed, gets rid of all of his adversaries in the sinking of the Titanic. Helps when you own the parent company, and then he went on less than a year later to institutionalize the Federal Reserve. Josh, thank you again for joining the Slump Monkeys Concrete Podcast. It's been an absolute blast educating the audience on the really important thing, what they really need to know.
Happy to do it, man. Pleasure as always.
Absolutely. Okay, well, we are going to jump into the interview portion of the show. Everyone, please welcome our guest as we say goodbye to Josh. Thank you, sir. Talk soon. And welcome into the interview portion of the Slump Monkeys Concrete Podcast. I have with us today the one, the only, the great and powerful Manny Tejano from GoRocketStart.com. Manny, thank you so much for jumping on here with us today.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be here, and always good to chat with you, my friend.
Always. And what Manny did when I asked him to come on, he said, well, can I bring some friends with me? I said, well, any friend of Manny's is a friend of mine. Absolutely. And he brought with us today the wonderful people from Murphy Concrete Construction, MCC, Appleton, Wisconsin. We have the wonderful and lovely Chelsea Murphy, and we have how would you describe yourself, Jason?
Oh man, that's a tough one. Put me on the spot. The beautiful bearded man.
And we have the grizzled veteran, Jason. And thank you guys for joining along with Manny here. Chelsea, Manny tells me that you're fourth generation. What's it like growing up as the daughter of concrete folks? I mean, that many generations back is pretty wild.
Yeah, it's I feel very honored, especially as we're about to celebrate our 100-year anniversary this year, knowing that my great grandpa started all this, and I'm really proud. It's very close to my heart growing up around it, and now I get to be I do marketing, so I get to be part of showing the rest of the world what we do in our community. It's exciting.
So just so everybody knows, ChatGPT has this wonderful summary. I'm going to read it verbatim. It's just so beautiful. That MCC is a fourth generation family owned construction materials company based in Appleton, Wisconsin. Celebrating 100 years in business, MCC serves the ready mix concrete, aggregates, asphalt, and construction industries throughout Wisconsin. Nearly 400 employees. The company has built its reputation on quality, innovation, environmental stewardship, and a people-first culture. Jason, that sound about right?
That does sound pretty accurate.
Okay, chat.
I know. So people like Chelsea and I who are running around trying to be marketing folks, and I don't know. You could have locked me in a room all day. I don't think I could have wrote that about anybody. Chelsea, do you see that sometimes when you're running around?
Yeah, that's not ideal for our job quality.
No, we just have to use the technology and don't tell anybody. We're like, hey, I came up with this on my own. The problem with using these AI chats, though, is they have a specific way of talking. So if you are used to like reading their responses and you go and read something that somebody else puts out claiming that it's their own, you can actually tell it's written by chat. Manny, you've seen that before, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. As good as it is, AI slop is also very real too, right? So,
ooh, AI slop. Yes. Where it really makes me a better person, I use it where it makes me a better person is I will write an email and I'll stare like how terribly written it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll copy and I'll throw it into chat. I'm like, please make this more professional for me. And it just spits out like the most beautiful. I'm like, gosh, how come I don't know to say it like that the first time? Jason, are you using this to help you craft your emails, or you're just too busy? You don't even have time. You're just sending like one words from your phone.
It's a little bit of both. You can definitely tell the ones that are written by me and the ones that are by ChatGPT. But if there's something that's got to go out and sound a little bit more eloquent and written well, I'll ChatGPT it, and then I'll put my own spin on it so it doesn't come off as the AI slop, and it has the Midwestern construction feel to it.
I do that too. Yeah, absolutely. Anybody that does that, please edit it, read what it wrote, edit it, remove the M dashes. If you don't know what that is, Google it. They're freaking horrible about that. They use words like delve that nobody uses in real life, and AI loves those words. Anyway, getting back into concrete. I am interested. So before we got on, Chelsea was telling us that she didn't necessarily love concrete construction coming right out of high school. She actually went and tried to do some other stuff, and now she's back. What is it that drew you back to the company and wanting to help lead the marketing arm?
Well, first of all, my family and parents always pushed me to do what I wanted to do. They always wanted to make sure me and all my cousins and siblings followed our passions, and they didn't want to feel like we had pressure to work at the company. which I think is very respectful. But when it's such a great company, it's hard. A lot of us are back here. I think every one of my cousins has worked here for a time, and I have currently 2 other cousins here. So I went in, I did acting. I've always liked performing, and that kind of led to filmmaking and directing. So, coming back, my whole family lives here and I miss them. So you get a little older and you start realizing you're missing things. And I wanted to come home and be around them. And it was kind of the perfect hybrid situation when they wanted to get into marketing and social media that I found I what a perfect mesh of talents that I'm good at that and I'm passionate about this company. And it was a little serendipitous, I think.
That's fantastic. In 100 years, like that's crazy. And you know, one of the one of the things that came out of this beautiful little agenda was a fantastic question. And Jason, I want to hit you with it. If someone from MCC in 1926 walked into one of today's plants, what would surprise them the most?
Everything. I think their heads would spin. If you'd have told somebody in 1926 that you'd have something in your hand that you could talk to someone across the world and see their face, it would amaze them. And now we've adapted all that into our plants. It's all computerized with the loading. There's AI systems tracking how efficient we are. Um, Even just how much the plants have evolved, being hydraulically opened and not levers and pulleys to load the trucks and equipment. I mean, I don't. They would think they were in a different world because they pretty much are.
So you don't have any plants left that have the levers?
No, but I do hear there are some companies out there that still do. I personally have never seen one, but if there's one out there, reach out to me. And if you're in the Midwest, I'd love to come see it.
Well, I know I've seen them in the Southeast for sure. I mean, you got these rural plants that, I mean, they might be doing 10,000, 15. They're like satellite plants doing 10,000, 15,000 yards. There's no reason to fully upgrade it if you're only turning it on a couple times a year and just to help out with some big jobs or something. Just,
They do what they need to do, right?
you got to do what you got to do. But there's nothing like just grabbing that lever and you're like, 1, 2, 3, whoa. That's how you're timing it up. That's how you're timing it up. I don't think any of those plants are going to be monitoring their drivers for happiness or whatever. So, for those who don't already know, we have Manny as one of our sponsors. Rocket Start's one of the sponsors of the show. Absolutely love what they're doing. And one of the reasons Manny's friends with MCC and they've come on here is because they actually use his product. And no, this show's never going to be an infomercial for anybody. But I do find it interesting that some companies adopt technologies that other companies don't. That always fascinates me. Why does somebody want to do something and somebody else doesn't? And in this case, they wanted to use Rocket Start to enhance employee engagement. And that's like one of the hobby horses I used to have was always show people recognition and respect. If you can show people recognition and respect, I think it goes a long way toward holding people, improving morale, all this stuff. So that's why I love what Manny's doing. So I'd actually like to know, Jason, when you guys implemented Rocket Start, like, were you thinking like, what was the company thinking like, oh, there's a labor shortage, I can't find enough drivers, we need to make sure they're happy? Was it like, hey, this is a different generation of folks, we got to connect with them in a different way? Like, what was the main driver behind looking at a product like that? Like, what was the mindset going in and thinking, we need to, you know, improve the culture, beef up, bolster the culture? What was it? I'm just fascinated by it.
So I think you hit on a couple of the things. One, how do you set yourself apart and bring people to you? What makes you different than the ready mix supplier down the street? We saw that having an incentive program with how Manny puts it, the gamification makes it interesting, makes it engaging for the employees was huge, and it got them involved more. And saying thank you, people want to feel appreciated, people want to be recognized. So the fact that you have the leaderboard that you can see, people strive to do a little bit better, and it not only made our people push a little more, but it made us better as a company being able to recognize the people that are out there, because it's huge, from 1926 until now. I think people have always wanted to feel appreciated and recognized, and Rocket Start's a great tool to help us do that on the regular.
Chelsea, when people are using, whether it's this program or other software, do you see a generational divide? Like the old timers don't want to get on, and the youngins seem like they were, fish born in water with this stuff, or is it accepted across all demographics? How is that for you in your role? What do you see?
There's definitely a generational divide. We have people that we have a variety of ages as employees
Oh,
here.
what a professional HR response that was.
There was a couple years ago it was a bit of a situation when we switched over to iPads full time, but they adapt and realize when they get the hang of things, it can be fun sometimes. And I know my first year,
the iPads were for the drivers, or they were for everyone?
for drivers.
What do the drivers use the iPads for?
So
Clocking in, and
we use our iPads, they're tablets for all sorts of things. Clocking in, tracking, GPS to jobs, knowing where their tickets are, what they're going to be carrying on their truck. But Chelsea kind of hit it on the head. We've got a wide variety. I just had this conversation earlier today. We've got people who work for us who still don't have a cell phone. We've got people who use a flip phone. So when we stepped over to more technology wise, there was a little bit of pushback. But once they got comfortable with it, they love it. They see the benefits.
yeah, this is my third year here doing social media and marketing, and we have an annual safety meeting every winter, which is where we get to have everyone all in one place. And I do a presentation every year about social media. And the first year, no one was interested, but by last year, I had a lot of volunteers, and people were like, "Oh, now I see what you're doing, and it's cool. And I'm actually on Facebook now, so it's fun."
Selfless plug for Chelsea. If you haven't checked out some of MCC's fun videos that she does or posts, they're awesome. She makes them fun. She comes up with some really good ideas, and
Jason
we've had
stars in a lot of them.
I've been in a couple, but we've actually gotten the guys and girls to buy in, and they think it's fun to get to do it, and it makes it a little bit more enjoyable to work and be proud of where we work.
I'm going to take a step further, guys. I think you guys are industry leaders in that. Like, you guys have really fun, awesome, engaging Insta and Facebook, and I love your videos, love your content. That's a perfect way to engage people, not just people in our industry, just people, right? Get them eyes into what you do, and I think it's really cool, fun stories, and Wade is really cool to celebrate what you're doing. So kudos to you guys.
Laugh
Yeah.
on the internet.
If you're listening to the audio only version of this show, then you're missing out on Jason's epic beard. So if you could see how majestic this beard is, you would understand why he's the star of the show. And we're blessed to have that beard on our program here. Where can people find the MCC page? Or is it Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn? Like, what do they need to go? Come on, if we're gonna talk about it, we gotta tell people where to find it.
Yep, we're on LinkedIn. Instagram is MCC Inc. WI Wisconsin. We're on Facebook, and we're on TikTok.
Oh God, TikTok's a thing for concrete?
It is now.
It is. Good answer. Yeah, see, I'm off the TikTok. I can't, China. Joe Rogan read the terms of service one time on his show, and China goes all in. So I can't. I gotta avoid them.
Hey, if China needs concrete, we'll supply. It might take a little while to get there, though.
The year that I met Manny, actually at Concrete Works, I went around with a tiny mic, and I asked everyone as a prank, how they like working in the cement industry, and just got everyone's angry reactions, and that video went pretty viral.
Yes, it did.
Yeah. Okay. I wish I'd have seen that. That's hilarious. So when you're coming up with ideas for promoting the company, and you're thinking about doing that with marketing, are you thinking virality in mind? Are you thinking trying to get different people? What's the process look like? We just to couch this for a second. I know for a fact that 12% of this audience for this show is in marketing and communications in some way. So 12% of the folks listening right now would love to know, what is your formula? What's the process like when you're thinking about what to do next?
I definitely use different platforms for different things. So TikTok is much more viral quality, silly things, where LinkedIn I keep more professional, and then Instagram and Facebook are like a hybrid.
There's a balance to it. We do both. We do the fun stuff that, hey, hopefully we go viral. People look at us and they say, hey, interesting, looks like a fun place to work, or they're having a good time. But we also do the professional, hey, posting for positions, what makes you care about your industry. So it's a balance, and we try to do a good amount of both.
Yeah.
So when you're posting, like different posts might have different goals. It sounds like some are just to have fun, some are to make people interested to maybe want to come work there. Like for this show, we do the same thing. We have clips that we want to be fun. So people are like, oh, that's interesting. They're having a good time over there. And then some clips are like, oh, okay, they actually are talking technical and they may or
Right.
may not know what they're talking about sometimes.
Some are educational, some are just goofy, some are showing our project, showing off our team.
Oh, that's good. Hey, have
Here's
you
one of
found
my
like,
favorite ones, Paul, if you don't mind me interjecting. One of my favorite ones was one of their drivers, Gary, won the Wisconsin, the first, state rodeo competition that they had, the mixed rodeo. And he was training for the national competition, being the first to represent. So it was a very Rocky-esque training video montage that they did. And I just absolutely loved it. I think I shared it with like 10 people immediately, and I'm like, this is awesome. So like it's that type of formula that something that's happened that they're celebrating, and they have like a really funny, cool spin that I think people could really relate to. It's awesome stuff.
We go into this, and I tell the people around me at work every day, I spend more time at work with the people here than I do my own family and friends. So we might as well enjoy it. So some of these videos are to, hey, let's have fun at work. Let's make other people enjoy it and hopefully get a laugh. But also, like Chelsea said, show off what we do, because we do some amazing work and we're proud of it. So we get that balance of both. And if we can mix in showing what we do and have fun doing it, that's kind of the goal.
that's a good point that we spend more time with our workmates than we do our families a lot of times. That's tough. I just had to put, not had to, got to, I don't know. I have a 5-month-old. He just started daycare. And, he was here at the house like the first 5 months. Mama was home on leave. And then we had family helping us for a little while till we got registered into daycare. It was kind of nice just like having him around the house when I'm here. I travel a lot when I'm here. At least I got to see him. Now I don't get to see him till like 6:30, 7 at night. That's freaking bedtime for a baby by then.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a little tough. You made me think about it. Now I'm in my feelings. So we're gonna have to move on.
Well, congratulations on the little guy.
Thanks, man. He's awesome. It's my second one. I spaced him out a little too far. I have a 10-year-old and a 5-month-old. So
You
it's
got a
fun.
built-in
That's
babysitter.
what I was thinking.
She wants to be. It's just like how much like responsibility do you give a 10-year-old for watching a tiny little baby? So right now she has to be seated on a couch or on the floor holding him, can't walk around anywhere or do nothing, but she's great. One of the things that I'm interested in for him when he grows up is I'm curious to see like what his work ethic's going to be. So I'd like to think I have a good work ethic. Mentally, sometimes I'll probably beat myself up thinking I should probably work harder. My wife's family, she's got a crazy good work ethic. Her brother, everybody also. But you hear people talk a lot of times saying this generation coming up doesn't actually want to work. That I haven't seen that. I don't know for you guys when you're recruiting new people in and they're the younger generation. What's that like? Are you able to retain that talent? Are you finding hard workers, Jason? What's it look like for you?
I would say we get good quality guys and girls that are younger. They're a little bit fewer and far between wanting to get into this industry. I think there's plenty of people out there who, I wouldn't say they don't want to do the work. They want to do a different type of work or do a different angle. I was just listening to Simon Sinek the other day, and he was talking about how many more entrepreneurs there are now. And if the situation's not right for them, they decide it's time to go a lot sooner than we would. The numbers of people who will leave a job without something else already lined up is more prevalent now than it used to be. The people we have come in though, they work. We're in an industry where it is hard work, and the guys and girls who come in, they want to work. Whether it's the right work for them, that's what we have to help them figure out and help ourselves figure out.
Well, that's what Jim Collins says. You mentioned Simon Sinek. Another guy in that kind of world is Jim Collins. He says, get the right people on the company, and then, or he says it on the bus, and then you can put them in the right seat on the bus once you got them on the bus.
Yep, exactly.
So
we've had people come and start in one area, decide that area of the company wasn't the right area, move to another area of the company and flourish. So, if you judge a elephant by its ability to climb a tree, you're judging it on the wrong thing, right?
yeah, that's pretty good. There's like too many elephant metaphors though. We gotta find new animals.
Goldfish. I mean, if a goldfish can't climb a tree,
Oh,
Nice,
God.
nice.
My favorite elephant metaphor in the concrete space is from Jim Casilio. He does the technical guy at the Pennsylvania Aggregates Concrete Association, and he says that our industry is full of inbred elephants, meaning we all know each other and nobody ever forgets anything. So the whole point of that is like you don't screw anybody over. Always be honest and truthful, and because the minute that you do anything untoward or unethical, it's going to spread because we all talk, and we're never gonna forget that for you. So even 20 years from now, you could be trying to do something different, but somebody's going to remember that time you messed them over. So you got to be careful. We're a bunch of inbred elephants.
I like to, I'm pretty fresh to this industry. I've been in it for 5 years now, and I'm amazed at how large it is, but how small it is. We went on a trip to visit a company in Ohio, and we're having a conversation with them like, oh, XYZ. I'm like, yeah, we supply them concrete all the time. And, it's amazing, different companies. We work with Manny from, South Carolina, right, Manny?
North
It-
Carolina, but
North Carolina. It's from there to meeting you, Paul, in Pennsylvania to, we have connections in Canada. Everybody knows everybody. And you're right. If you aren't treating people right and being ethical, it's going to come back to haunt you. You're not going to last.
Chelsea, when you're designing media content or you're thinking about the branding of your company, are you thinking about it nationally? Are you thinking about it Midwestern only? How does that come into play when you're designing content and branding?
Yeah, there's not that much of a difference when I think about Midwestern or nationally. I guess if I'm doing like a trope on Midwestern stuff, maybe, but it's really just family oriented and safety first, and it doesn't matter if that's the neighbors down the street or when we go to nationals and meet new friends. It's kind of all the same.
Well, I mean, you're obviously people first, employee first, and that's the reason you would work with somebody like Manny. Um, you know, we talked about communication and recognition is important. I personally think that building relationships inside of your company with your employees is also important. I think you guys kind of touched on that with like social media. It took a couple of years to like really get in there and have people start buying in. But you know, when I see concrete companies being successful, it's when they're all driving toward the same mission. What's the goal? What's the company trying to do? And MCC is obviously successful, but how do you do that if you're making concrete and asphalt? Jason, asphalt is the enemy, and you have to separate yourself from that. At Chelsea, we're stopping all advertising for asphalt starting today.
We actually, one of the cool things about this company, and I have a video coming out about a Highway Z project soon that is an example of this, is so many of we're not allowed to use the word division. We say areas just for that exact reason.
Yeah.
So many of the areas of our company all use each other and work together. Like we pave a road when we're using the aggregate department's stone, and we're using, sometimes a job will have concrete. I mean, you could probably explain it better.
Yeah, we do a lot of crossovers. So we'll do big DOT projects and it'll be an asphalt road, but the curb and gutter is all concrete. And we're supplying that to one of our partners. Like Chelsea said, the base layers are aggregate. We have our trucking area, they're
Excavation.
trucking our excavation. So for us, although, yeah, in another world, people would say, oh, yeah, it's concrete versus asphalt. And I use my cheesy line that everybody's heard, it's not your fault, it's asphalt. But really our company has grown in all of them. And the asphalt has a deep part in the Murphy family's heart. So, it's one of the first things they started doing, and um, we work together well. So when there's a job that calls for asphalt, and we're not going, oh, I can't bid that, I'm concrete. I go, oh, who can bid this? And I forward it on to them, vice versa. So we do a good job partnering and working together. But it definitely opens some challenges inside as well.
You mentioned that you're 5 years in on this business. Where were you at before this?
Oh, sales and people management for my whole career. Most recent before this was housing, siding, windows, roofing, sales.
So when you come over, like, what's the biggest thing that sticks out to you that's the same? Uh, like you came over and you're like, oh, this is so similar to what I was doing. We're just in a different market. Was there a day or a moment that it hit you that you're like, oh my gosh, I absolutely have this?
People are people, no matter what industry you're in, and that's what I really realized. With some of our area managers who are a little bit newer, they have their frustrations, and I can talk them through it. I'm like, look, I understand that you're frustrated with this employee or this customer doing this or that. I said, but this isn't just a concrete thing. This is a people thing. So for me, it was, a lot of learning of the specifics of concrete, but the people are people. People, I think, in any area want to be treated with respect. They want to feel appreciated. Employees want to be given a purpose and known that they're appreciated for doing it. So really, that's the biggest thing I noticed is, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, people all want that same thing. I don't care if you're in an office, you want to feel appreciated for what you do. If you're selling cars, you want to be appreciated for what you do, and respected. And it's the same thing in our industry. Back in the day, there was always the stories of, oh, a guy would pull you out of your truck and scream, and yell, and throw a shovel at you. We've pushed, and I think the industry as a whole has gotten more and more away from that. And that helps because who wants that all day?
I mean, you got to make them tough somehow. But seriously, I am glad you said all that because I am a huge proponent of trying to get people into the industry. I graduated from like the CIM program at MTSU. So for years on the other podcast we had, the Ad 10 Gallon Show, would always talk about CIM, and we'd have people on from the different universities trying to drum up interest because I wanted young kids to go in that business. Uh, I had some young guys that I knew, they were like 20 years old, that were busting their butts working two jobs, like working in a kitchen at Olive Garden at night and working at a gym during the day. And I'm like, man, like your work ethic, you should be out there testing concrete. Like you would be the perfect person. You're gonna make twice as much money. And no, the job's not easier, but at least you're putting in 9 or 10 hours in a day instead of 12, 13, 14 hours every single day. And they were just always so scared to like make that jump. Like, oh, I don't really know. Seems kind of crazy and tough. But like you just said, Jason, being able, you'll see that like the skills that you have naturally, you can transpose them into this market, and people will teach you. They're less likely to, we say, throw shovels at you, or less likely to do that today. Manny, do you see when companies are? I swear to God, I'm not trying to make this an infomercial. I'm literally like curious, Manny. When you see people that are using Rocket Start or any type of technology where the culture is important, uh, is it easier for them to bring in people from outside the industry and engage them and get them trained up? Is there anything that you're doing that helps with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So at Rocket Start, we're helping essentially with a topic of employee optimization. Okay, so that's a terminology that we use is about how do we engage, recruit, retain, all of the different pieces. So I've been in industry since 2005. I've worked in another vertically integrated construction materials company for quite some time. So we're not as old as MCC, have been around there, but my family business been almost around there 80 years or so too. So it's kind of funny because her dad says, "Oh, you guys are babies," so we thought we're pretty old with I can't compete with that, right? So but it's pretty cool. But one thing I learned from my family business and doing that is employees, and this is one of my favorite Gallup statistics, right? Is employees who feel work has purpose for them are 5.6 times more likely to be engaged in what they do. So, for example, for in concrete, so it's like every school, every hospital, every bridge, every home, that starts with someone driving a mixer, right? And that's why what we want to do is we want to build that connection, okay, of that end product, of that finished work, of that fulfillment, that purpose. And we kind of go backwards from there, right? So, because engagement and going to work, feeling like you have purpose is very important. So the cool thing is with Rocket Start is we say, hey, what are the goals that you guys, have for your drivers? And can we put it in our app so that it's clear, right? It's, here's our goals as far as targets for loads, clean trucks, all the things that we want to do and celebrate. And then we need to celebrate all those wins as they happen. So they would get these instantaneous, attaboys. We would tie in with integrations with their systems like GPS or dispatch. And then we also allow for a lot of manual recognition. Hey, you went above and beyond today. Loader called in sick and you helped out the plant today. We appreciate it. And what that does is not only kind of build this really awesome goodwill and trust that, oh, cool, like I'm getting recognized for going above and beyond, but now I'm going to be like incentivized to do that again and repeat that. And we talked earlier about like generations and things like that. A question you brought, they don't make them the same or things like that. When people have been saying, it's just, when I look at millennial and Gen Z workers, they just have different incentives. And I think one of the biggest parts is show them that purpose and give them that meaning. And what I find or what I see throughout the, doing this now for 6 years is when you kind of give them that wiggle room to see and understand, an engaged worker is gold, right? Because that's someone that's going to stick around, that's going to want to work hard, work for you, be loyal. And those are the safest and the hardest working guys is the folks that are engaged. So really what it comes down to is just engagement and how to set them up for success and set them to win. And those are some things that we, really look at day in and day out at Rocket Start.
Does your stuff come as a separate app or is it like built into everything else?
Yeah. So our stuff essentially, as we're in the employee optimization business, Paul, like we have our Rocket Start app. We're going to soon call it our platform. We're going to call it Motivate. So that's going to be something you could download and use, where you're going to be able to see your as a driver, as a worker. Here's my badges for every time I, had a clean truck, every time I did a completed load, every time a customer called and said you did a great job. We're going to keep tabs on that, and we're going to give those badges so the workers can celebrate. We have leaderboards. You can look at your history. You can push notifications. You can notify your workers. Then we also have a platform that we're going to call Celebrate, which is going to be able to look at all the workers and, hey, I've cashed in, 8 badges and it's worth 100 points, right? So now I'm going to cash it into our storefront. So we use things like our partners at Wardco, and we have things like Amazon, gift cards. You can choose between 150 gift card partners, and essentially you could use your points for things to buy and utilize. So we have a really cool storefront way to do that. And then the third thing is we call it our Educate platform. So that's our outreach to education. So we have an LMS platform we worked with called Concrete Quest. That's something that we're working right now with the TCA, which is the Tennessee Concrete Association. And we've essentially put it for 500 students to look at concrete careers, understand what it's all about. Concrete needs jobs in, not just drivers, but we also need marketing and IT people too, right? And folks like that. So we talk about all the different careers, the opportunities, and we get people engaged at a high school level about the upside of careers in concrete construction. And then the fourth thing is collaborate. So that's going to be us using our AI agent that we're going to be developing here the next couple months. And we're going to be able to associate that with our products. So you could ask it questions and be able to, kind of talk about ChatGPT, optimize your workforce. You could say, hey, we got a night pour. Can someone take this job for double points tonight? Last minute call, or here burnout in August is real thing. With the heat, the weather, things like that. What can we do to counter it? And it'll give you some ideas like oh, well, maybe we could double points in attendance, or maybe we could do this. So I'm very happy to kind of bring technology to really kind of help with the people part of it. And that's what we're excited to be doing, man.
That's awesome. You're gonna need to hire like 10 people to do all those things you said. I hope
We're
you've
working on it.
the problem is, Manny, you keep making friends at all these companies. You can't just go steal their people. So
It's also very true. They have
you
lots
gotta
of people,
call
though.
you gotta call our guy Billy Ripple at Command Alcon, the greatest IT guy in all of concrete. He'll probably be able to hook you up with some IT people to help you out. Chelsea, when you're in your job, uh, what other technologies are you seeing that are helping you or helping the company be better at what they're doing?
I mean, I literally gave one of the drivers a disposable camera the other day, and I was like, Take some pictures and get it back to me, and I'll make a video about it." I mean, I'm not too high tech.
That's
We
great,
grew up
Jason. Any technology rolling through your place? Because Manny is over here. He's all on top of the tech, man.
It's more and more every day. The world in general is using AI. We have batching systems that track and show where our inefficiencies are. It's Manny's programs that have an app for our drivers we use, and I don't want to use any company names because I don't know if you use them, but tracking systems. We just had earlier, I had a meeting today for cameras in the trucks and how they can track and let us know when your services are due, so it's not that manual trusting the driver to get their truck in when it needs maintenance. It's going to relay, and the ability of the cameras to tell us, you know, rolled through a stop sign, looking at their cell phone, and just making things safer in general. It's not that we want to be a big brother by any mean, but we want to protect our drivers from other people out there because everybody's been on the highway and see how people drive, and it's like anything, the bigger one always is the one that was at fault and is in trouble. Yet those are usually the people who drive for a living and know to make sense. So, you know, every aspect nowadays is technology. I'm looking outside. We're doing a project here at our main corporate office, and they've got the GPS out there to make sure that the grading is going right. It's everything is technology now.
Hey, one thing that MCC is they're very focused on technology. They actually built their own in-house program that serves their asphalt and concrete and aggregate division, right? So, I think that was an awesome product that you guys brought to market, and something that you've used internally. But talk about technology, they're actually building it themselves. So, kudos to these guys because it's pretty cool, pretty slick stuff as well.
I will say this as somebody who's been with the company for a relatively short period of time in the 100 years is the ownership and leadership group here does a good job of being open to it and being early adapters, not waiting on the back burner and being falling behind. We are trying to keep up with the times, and they do a good job investing back into the company, in everything, new equipment, the latest and greatest features on those equipment. So it's a good thing to see that there's a reason they've been around for 100 years. They put back into it.
That's a big part of my marketing plan this year to celebrate the 100 years. We're respecting and honoring and celebrating our history, but also being innovative and forward and not stuck in the past.
Yeah.
That's how things continue to grow and evolve. So that's exciting.
That's one of the first things you learn in this business is you ask somebody, like, why do you do it that way? And the response is because that's the way we've always done it. What's the secret sauce there at MCC that allows you guys to keep it together when you're growing at such a big rate?
I do think it's just still going back to so family oriented and people first. I mean, my dad is gonna hate me saying this, but my dad is holds stop signs for flaggers. Like he's out there with he's not, they're uh,
It is. It's, I think taking pride in what we do is a big part of it. And, Chelsea's dad would probably be a little worked up on this one, but when I came in to sit down with this company before I ever started, I was sitting in the lobby in a chair, and a guy walks by, and he's got jeans and a high vis shirt on and work boots on, and I look and he seemed kind of important. And, it's the president of our company. He had just been out on a job site and he still does it. I mean, 2 weeks ago, we had a night pour and he was out there at 1:30 in the morning at our plant, supporting our people. So I've been growing up that, be willing to get your hands dirty. If you expect your people to do it, you should do it too. And I think our leadership group has done that and spent the time to invest back in people. One of my favorite sayings, can't remember one of the audiobooks or books I read is, when people come first, the rest will follow. And whether that's set out front, I don't know here, but that's how they do lead is we take care of our people. We do care about them. So it goes a long ways.
I think everybody on this podcast today would agree that the strongest foundation of any company is its people. And as
100%.
long as we invest in them, same intention that we do with our plants and our mixer trucks and everything else, then we'll continue to be stronger, not just as a company, but as an industry too.
I 100% agree with that. People ask, you were talking about it, how do you get the young people into it? I think that's one of the things that's changed is buying into the people and making sure that, they can live a good quality life and really focusing on that.
I think the next time that we'll all be able to talk to each other is at Concrete Works. Did I hear that right? I know Manny's going, MCC, Chelsea, Jason.
We'll be there.
We will be there.
We'll have a driver competing.
Oh, you got another driver that made the rodeo.
Well, so the Wisconsin rodeo is actually this Saturday.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
So we'll see.
We've
How
got
many-
3 drivers that are competing in it. And, everybody thinks that they're the best, but I have some confidence in our 3 drivers that'll be there. They're pretty quality drivers. And, I think they're going to show people what it's about. And, we have pledged that, whoever finishes top out of the 3 gets to go down to Nashville and experience that and show them their skills and in front of all those folks. So another way that MCC has bought in and supported their people.
There's a chance people are listening to this and don't know what we're talking about. Could you explain what a driver rodeo is and exactly why there's a state level one and then there's a national one and what's involved?
It's so funny to explain it because when I first found out what it was, I was like, this is real?
It's a skills competition. So like if you watch an all-star game in basketball and they got the shoot pass drills, basically that's what the drivers are going through. So they'll go out and, people won't necessarily see the relation of what they're doing to their skills, but it really comes down to it. So there's basically a slalom course where they drive in between cones with tennis balls on them and they have to not knock any off. There's a going in reverse and stopping on a mark and who gets the closest. There's a swinging your chute over and not breaking an egg, but seeing who can get the closest. And then there's some other fun ones that kind of throw you a curveball, bowling,
basketball.
So it's fun things that are done in an interesting, fun way, but it's really showing the skills of the drivers. And, families get to come out and watch, people who don't get to see this, and they really enjoy it. Wisconsin does a great one. It's at our local semi-pro baseball team in their parking lot. So people are coming out. There's events for the kids. They get to see their parents doing these driving competitions that they don't get to see them do every day. And the drivers I've seen in it really take pride in it, and they get to show off what they do. And then for us in Wisconsin afterwards, we get to go and watch a semi-pro baseball team and maybe have a beverage or two and enjoy ourselves. So it's a great thing that gets to bring everybody into from the outside and see the cool stuff and show off their skills.
How do you train to shoot a basketball with a concrete truck?
I don't know if you really do. You spout concrete 60 hours a week, and I think that kind of gives you the one up.
So you guys are already telling your own team like we'll sponsor you to go to nationals if you win, or if whoever the top of those 3 is. Is that how it works? So if you place in a state, or maybe states run it differently, but in Wisconsin, if you place there, you automatically sent to the NRMCA competition. Is
in
that
Wisconsin, the
First
place is sponsored by WRNMCA, Wisconsin Ready Mix
Concrete Association.
And then I think anyone can
anybody can sponsor their own drivers if they want to. And then, like Chelsea said, Wisconsin's Ready Mix Concrete Association, they send the number one, whoever wins the Wisconsin
Which was
rodeo,
scary.
which was Gary 2 years ago, the year that you guys met.
Yeah.
And then he took third last year and got to go down again. And this year he is competing. You know, we said you get to hold on to your crown, but we're going to put two our drivers. And oh man, I can't remember how many are actually in it this year. There's a lot of drivers competing, so
And it's growing fast.
That's great. When I was there, so last year, not the Denver one, but the one after that.
Florida, right?
Thank you, Orlando. And I actually went to the dinner, the dinner, and they recognized all the drivers. That was incredible when they
Oh, yeah.
came in just rocking and rolling. There were hundreds of drivers all getting celebrated. I didn't get to see the skills competition last year because I was at our booth and doing some other stuff, but I wished I could have because they showed the highlights of it, and I just don't. The whole like not knocking over the egg thing, like I don't know how anybody could possibly train for that or bowling or anything else, but it looked like an absolutely great time. And I would encourage, if you're coming to the NRMCA and you have time, you're going to Concrete Works and you have the time, definitely check out the driver skills competition because they do try to make it an event. It's not meant to be boring and stuffy. There's music and things for kids and it's meant to be fun. So I encourage everybody to go to that. I encourage everybody to go to Concrete Works. Look, this is not, nobody's paying me to say this. I'm telling you, that is the best show in the industry to me. There's a lot of people there that really know what they're talking about. You get to see so many people, and it's not like overly crowded like World of Concrete. It's a little bit more intimate, and I absolutely love the show. So I look forward to seeing you guys there. Manny? How can people reach out to you when this show's about to wrap up here? How can people find you when we leave here?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, just appreciate the time and happy to introduce you to guys with MCC, and I've known them for over 10 years now. They used to be a peer of mine, and used to talk back and forth about, hey, what systems you're using, things like that. And now as I'm kind of going on this side of the journey, focusing on employee engagement and things like that, they've just been really awesome to work with. So again, happy to introduce these guys and talk today with you guys. But yeah, to find me, you could just look up Rocket Start. We're GoRocketStart.com is our website. You could look at us in LinkedIn. We're also on Facebook, Instagram as well. But yeah, just love to have a conversation with you. If you're a company or you're an HR professional, if you're in production, that's just looking to figure out ways to gain an advantage of, not only just keeping your employees engaged, but also just techniques on, how do I compete with the Amazons and some other workforce out there and things like that. That's what we focus on. And we use some technology and some pretty cool ways to do it. And been doing this since, been in this business since 2005 when I graduated from the awesome University of Villanova. Sorry, I had to plug that in there, Paul, but you probably didn't mind. So this has been a really cool way that, my journey has, gone from, working in construction and working in IT to now, being in software and helping kind of consult and look at the next generation of workforce and bringing to light some of the stuff. So yeah, just again, thanks again for opportunity. And thank you, Chelsea and Jason, for hopping on as well.
You never have to apologize bringing up the cats. I don't know. There's a degree frame, two of them on the floor over there. One's my wife. She's got the little bitty one. The big one's mine. To be fair, she bought it, not me. It was a gift to finally put my diploma in the Villanova frame. So never have to apologize for bringing them up.
My wife and I are also Villanova graduates, so 100%. Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, so it's funny. Like when I went back to get my MBA and got accepted to all the schools, and she's like, there was never a question. She's like, why'd you even apply to all these other places? You're going to Villanova. End of the story. Chelsea, how can people find you and MCC?
We're on all the socials, MCC Inc. or MCC Inc. WI for Wisconsin. Follow us. We got some fun stuff. We do a lot of throwback old vintage equipment that people have been liking lately. So we're on it all the socials.
Jason, final word is yours, brother. If people want to find you or any last thoughts you have before we get out of here.
I just want to say thank you for having us on. It's great to talk to people who are passionate about the industry. And, like you said, I don't want to make it an infomercial, but Manny's program has been awesome for us. It's made a difference. And, we appreciate that partnership and being able to have that look from outside. So for me, I'm on LinkedIn, the other socials, just my name's Jason Inda. So, I look forward to meeting you guys. Well, Paul, meeting you in person in Nashville, and Manny, I'm sure we'll talk before then. Otherwise, we'll see you down there, and it'll be good to see each other in person.
Yeah, that'll be great. Thank you guys so much, everyone, for listening. This is the latest episode of the Slump Monkeys Concrete Podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. Reach out to everyone. Let them know you loved hearing them on here. If you would like to reach out about sponsorship opportunities, there are just a couple left for this year. Email me at admin@slumpmonkeys.com. Follow the show on Apple, Spotify, or LinkedIn, and we will see you there. Thank you guys so much. Have a good day.
Thank you.